Thank you guys so much for coming on. I know that there's so much going on right now in our lives around the world, and I want to honor you guys and thank you guys so much for showing up for this call. I think this call is in the perfect timing with our guest speaker. I think we're going to learn some amazing things. We're going to put ourselves into the right mindset for everything that's going on. But first, a couple just quick announcements really quickly. So as you guys know, tomorrow our new program launches. So 10 rounds will be coming out tomorrow. We're all super excited. It is a great opportunity, guys. A lot of people right now can use movement. They can use exercise. They can use, just getting up in their homes. A lot of gyms are starting to close. I know my local gym in my community closed and they said we can't go use it. So I know I have a feeling that over the next couple days, a couple more gyms and other facilities will be closing. So again, just using this as an opportunity just to share what you guys have been doing already, which is eating well, moving your body, being that positive inspiration and motivation to other people right now. Because honestly, I've been talking with Kathrin and some of our other friends in another group and some other girls as well. And it's like all our personal development, all our mindset work has been preparing us for times like this. I get really emotional thinking about it. It really has prepared us for this time because there's so much fear and so much anxiety out. And those of us that are empathetic and those of us who can feel, those of us who have a tendency to help other people and we're out there to help other people, we can feel the fear and the anxiety that's out there. And so if you find yourselves a little off, which many of us have been having dreams, many of us have been like, what the hell is going on? And it's because literally we are feeling the collective consciousness. We are feeling the community, our communities, we're feeling the world. And so everything that we have been doing with our mindset, with working on our personal development, with having, a positive mindset, learning how to put ourselves in proper state with our exercise, our nutrition, our daily dance, our daily dance videos, all of this is where this comes to, where this matters. Because our role right now is to really be putting out that positivity, to really be putting out that inspiration, to really be putting out the optimism out there, to being kind, to showing love and to showing light. That is our role, and not to be following the masses, not to be following the mass anxiety and fear and worry. This is where we show up. We have the opportunity to show up within our families and within our communities as leaders of, of inspiration, of hope, and of light. So I want you guys, I really felt really called to share that with you guys this, in this, as we begin this call. And again, just really excited about tonight's call. We also have one more announcement. We're still, as of right now, going full force with our leadership retreat in May, at the end of May. So those of you who are pushing for that, make sure that you're talking with your sponsoring coach to see how you can qualify. It's Emerald rank and 500 PV in 2 months. Many of you may actually be able to qualify for that. So make sure you're talking with your coach to see if you can come, because it'll be fun. And our plan is to go to Disney, and our plan is to really enjoy each other and do team building exercises. So it's going to be really fun, and it'll be here in Florida. So with all that said, I am so very excited and so honored to have Miss Kathrin Zenkina on here on the phone or on our call this evening. Many of you know her. She is the founder. She's the founder of Manifestation Babe, which is a personal development company. She is someone who is like a sister. She is my sister to me. We've known each other for over close to 6 years. We've known each other, and we've seen each other grow in many different ways. She is familiar with our team. She is familiar with our company. She is familiar with our mission, and she's part of our team. She's part of our extended family within Beachbody. And so we're honored and we're so excited for her to come and share her knowledge and her inspiration and her gifts with us. So with that said, Kathrin, I'm gonna let you go ahead and take it away. Let's see, I'm gonna unmute you. You're unmuted.
Hey, okay, can you guys hear me? I have my microphone in. Okay, if at any point you cannot hear me, just let me know in the comments, and I'm going to actually encourage you guys to open up a chat and share any takeaways, share any feedback, share any questions that you might have throughout tonight's call, because I really love interacting with you guys. And I know it's like really me just talking and staring at a bunch of faces. Like I really, really appreciate, even if you just say amen or hell yeah, or wow, that blew my mind, or you're so right. Or if you have a question, I'm always paying attention to the comments. Every once in a while, you'll see me stop and just like check in with you guys. Stephanie, I couldn't have said that better myself. You're so right. You guys are in such an amazing opportunity right now to really bless this world and to really bring light to people who need light the most right now. And all of our mindset work, our spiritual work, our emotional work, we've been doing it to really not just empower ourselves, but also empower each other. And now is the moment that we all get to shine. Okay. And you guys are also in such an incredible position, because I, for one, am not going to the gym, and I'm actually looking at coming back, because I love the gym, but I'm looking at coming back into doing some home workouts. Actually, Brennan, my husband, just ordered a bunch of like weights and like his TRX that he loves so much, but had to get rid of because it was like really, really old. And so we're looking at building like a home gym and coming back into exercising at our home. So right now is such a beautiful, perfect opportunity for you guys to all kick ass and be the light for other people. I am so excited to be here because first of all, you guys are so privileged to have a leader like Stephanie. Stephanie, back when I started Beachbody, which if you guys didn't know, I actually still am a Beachbody coach. I still have my account open. Obviously not as active anymore. However, I'm doing such similar work as to what I was doing with Beachbody. My heart really is with inspiring people and elevating people's mindsets. And that's actually what I was doing back when I was a full force Beachbody coach. I was always the girl going on team calls and teaching people how to manifest. I was always doing team calls on vision boards, on affirmations, on intention setting. So it's so cool to be back here full circle. I will literally never forget my very first team call when I was probably a Beachbody coach for like 2 or 3 months. And Stephanie was like, hey girl, she sent me a text. I'll never forget it. I was like still in college, and I remember it was a Sunday, and she's like, hey girl, you're going to be leading the call tonight. And I'm like, what? Are you serious? And she's like, yeah. You know what you're doing. Just like bring your best tips. And so I remember like making this presentation and then coming on and like shaking so bad. And I was just like, Stephanie's so great at like empowering people. And I'll never, ever, ever, like words cannot describe how much gratitude I have for her, because there was a point in time when Stephanie was my only, like one and only believer. I had like one fan, and that was Stephanie Burgos, and Luke too. I would say both of them were like my number one fans when nobody believed in what I was doing, when my parents wanted me out of the house. I went through such a challenging time, and I just wanted to extend my gratitude to you guys, Stephanie and Luke, for being there for me, because I literally would not be here if it was for you guys. So love you guys so much. Thank you. Okay. How many of you guys are here familiar with manifestation? Whether it is maybe you're more of a beginner, intermediate, maybe you're just very advanced by this point, just let me know in the comments, because that's what we're going to be talking about obviously today. And I just want to remind you guys that there is a mindset that is actually very, very toxic to both successful and unsuccessful people, which is the I already know that mindset. Okay. So even if you are someone who knows this stuff, who's watched The Secret, who's read all the books, and, maybe has already been following me or consuming my content, or even been in any of my courses, I just want you to bring yourself back to that beginner's mindset and remember that if you are not living something in your life, it means that you don't know it yet. You have not yet mastered it. You don't actually know it. Okay. And there's still so much for you to learn. So I see some familiars. I see some beginners, beginner, familiar. Okay. Intermediate, advanced, perfect. Yes. And I just want to let you guys know that I am still learning. So I would consider myself advanced, of course, but like I am always diving into this stuff and seeing how I can get better at this and make it easier for myself. And then that, of course, translates over to, the people that I teach, my audience, my students, so that I can help make it easier for them as well. So I'm going to start my presentation. And first, I just want to confirm that you guys can see it. Let me just move that over here. I believe I'm just sharing. Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. Perfect. Let me open up my chat. Perfect. And also I'm seeing so many familiar faces. So hello, you guys. Hope you're doing awesome. All right. So sorry guys, I'm very picky with how I like things aligned so that I can see my screen, see you guys, and see everything all at once. And if you've never hosted a Zoom call, if you have hosted a Zoom call, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let me just move this up here. Okay, now I can't find the full screen button. Hold on, bear with me. Okay, can you guys still see my screen? Perfect. All right. So today is all about how to manifest anything that you want. With me, Kathrin Zenkina. So today's plan, I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown. I don't expect this to be more than like 30, 40 minutes. And then what I really want to do is open up the floor for questions. If you guys have any questions, how I can clarify something, I'd love to chat with you guys. So of course, I'm going to share a little bit about me because I am aware that not everyone knows who I am. And then I'm going to give you guys an intro to manifestation. And even if you are familiar or perhaps intermediate or perhaps advanced, this will give you my perspective at least. So you'll be able to hear it in another way. And I know from experience that when I hear something put in many different ways, where I'm not just hearing it from one person or one book or one teacher or one course, it just clicks so much faster. And so what I'm going to do today is share with you another way of looking at what manifestation is and how to apply it to your life. We're also going to be talking about the 3 phases of manifestation. And I used to call this the 3 steps to manifestation, but what I've realized in like the last really couple months, as I've been going deeper and deeper and deeper into my spiritual work, is that it really is about the phases and how we sometimes go from one phase to another phase to another phase, not necessarily always in order. And sometimes we skip around between the phases. As long as you are mindful of these 3 phases, it works as like this blueprint to where you can always identify where you are and what you currently need to be working on. We're going to be talking about the 4 pillars of being. And this is what I'm so passionate about when it comes to manifesting, is because a lot of people look at manifestation as something that you do. They only look at it from an action sense or perhaps an inaction sense, because some people believe that all you got to do is sit on your couch and visualize and the money's just going to appear in your bank account, which that just doesn't work, at least not in the physical realm. In order for you to physically manifest what you want, you have to take physical action. However, the key really is to manifesting your dream business or your dream life is all about being. It is being over doing. And there's 4 different pillars that kind of solidify different ways in which you can accomplish this way of being, where you just are that version of yourself that is super successful and has everything that you want in your life. Okay, perfect. Just checking on the comments. And then being a great receiver of what you want, right? We could be great givers. And I know that each and every single one of you here is an excellent giver. I know that Stephanie would not attract the kind of person who isn't. However, sometimes that comes with us not being very great receivers. So I want to talk about the receiving aspect of manifesting so that you're not just putting all this energy out into the world, but you're also harnessing it in for yourself as well, where as you benefit and as you grow your business and as your bank account grows and as you help more people, you're also then able to help even more people. And it's just like this never-ending cycle of abundance, of infinite supply, of inspiration, of love, of all of these incredible things that we are here to share and give. If we're not receiving anything, we are going to essentially become very unmotivated by this process. And, hopefully not anyone's doing this, but at some point we might give up. And giving up is not contributing anything to our society, to ourselves, to our family, to our community. And so it's so important to be as great of a receiver as you are a giver. And then I know that the state of the world is very interesting right now. And so I want to talk a little bit about that towards the end, and also invite you guys to something that I'm doing on my Instagram this week to really help you keep yourself elevated above all of this fear and chaos and panic, so that you can then keep yourself in this position where you are a light worker to other people, and remind yourself that this is the work that you've been preparing for. It's not just about being in great shape. It's not just about helping other people make money. It's not just about your business. It's not just about all of these things that we think it's all about. It's also for you to help other people, to inspire other people, to be the light for other people. And I love all of this note taking. So I'm just such a big proponent of people who take notes, because you're going to remember so much more. I also want to remind you guys that I'm going to give you these slides. So if you don't need to write down every single thing that I'm sharing with you guys, I'm going to share these slides with Stephanie so that you have these slides. But anything that sticks out to you guys, feel free to write it down. And then also I'll be kind of like prompting you guys with questions. So if you want to write those answers down as well as we go along, as well as putting them in the comments, that would be awesome. Okay, so just a little bit about me. I am a manifestation coach. That is first and foremost my biggest passion. And I know Stephanie has been a witness to this in the last couple of months to couple of weeks. I've also realized that I'm a healer and I'm also an intuitive. I am a #1 best-selling author on Amazon, and I am also a podcast of a top 50 podcast called the Manifestation Babe podcast. You can find it on Spotify, and you can also find it on iTunes as well. I am the founder of Manifestation Babe LLC, which is my personal development company, and it was founded in 2016. I'm also previously a Beachbody coach, so I'm very familiar with what you guys are doing. I built a multi-7-figure business in less than 3 years, and I have done it using the art of manifestation. And I am such a big believer that you could have all the right strategies, right? You could have people coming on these calls, top Beachbody coaches that are sharing all of these strategies of like the tangible things that you could be doing on an everyday or every week basis on how to grow your business. But if you do not have your mindset right, if you do not have your thoughts in line, your beliefs in line, your energy in line, if you don't have a strong connection with the divine, however you might see it, could be a connection to yourself, a connection to your heart, a connection to a higher power, a connection to God. It doesn't matter what spiritual background you come from. I strongly believe that so many of us are holding ourselves back because we're not really tapping into that co-creative aspect of manifestation. We end up spinning our wheels. We end up thinking that we are just here alone and there's nobody to help us. And so we have to be the ones taking all this action and really hustling and really struggling and really putting ourselves out there, when we actually have this beautiful force behind us that can help us skyrocket our businesses. And it's available to each and every single one of us. And how Manifestation Babe came about was really my own journey and proving to myself that this shit works. That's really what it was born out of, was an experiment that I did when I was living on my grandma's couch, where I came to this realization that I honestly have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose believing in myself, believing that I'll be successful, believing that my success is inevitable, believing that I'm here to help people, believing that the law of attraction is absolutely real and it can be, do, and have anything and everything that I want. From that experiment, I have obviously manifested some really incredible things. A lot of things in my life went right after they went completely wrong, before I really harnessed this power. And really, Manifestation Babe was born out of people just asking me what was it that I was doing, like, and if I can help them. So, and my passion really is, through Manifestation Babe, is to help ambitious women tap into their innate manifesting abilities to live their best life in the easiest way possible. And this is not just for women, it's for men too. And Luke actually carries a copy of my book in his backpack. True story. So it's for the Manifestation Bros as well. So just a quick recap for those of you who are familiar, or for those of you who are very, very beginners and maybe even hearing this for the first time. I'm going to answer the question, what is manifestation? And essentially manifestation, how I have defined it, is the phenomenon that occurs when something that was once a part of your imagination becomes actualized into your physical reality. And if you guys think about it, like everything in your reality at some point was in someone's imagination. Like, for instance, we're all wearing clothes right now, right? So the clothes that you're currently wearing, at some point, it was in the imagination of the designer that carried out this project along with their team and created the clothing that you are wearing. The food that you're eating, I mean, unless you just kind of grew it yourself in your backyard, probably not. You probably went to the grocery store, which there's probably like no toilet paper available right now, barely any food available right now, but let's rewind just a couple of weeks ago. You go into the grocery store and there's this plethora of food available to you. And so many of us take this for granted, thinking that it just appeared. But no, there's a whole team behind it. There's a farmer that grew the food. There's manufacturers that packaged it. There's people at the grocery store who are selling the groceries. Like, this is basically a creation starting from someone's imagination. It was someone's imagination to create the product, to create the food that you're eating. I could go on and on forever, but you guys get the point. Like, for instance, the iPhone or the MacBook or the PC or the Android that you're watching me from right now, at some point, it didn't just appear. It was in someone's imagination. It has manifested into physical reality from intention and from physical action, which I always say intention plus action equals real life magic. Now, you guys are probably all familiar with the law of attraction. Basically, the law of attraction states that like attracts like. Essentially, what that refers to is like vibration or like frequency attracts like vibration, like frequency. And we'll talk more about what vibration is or where that comes from, but essentially, the initial point of vibration comes from our internal consciousness. It comes from our internal state. Okay, it comes from our mindsets, right? So our mindsets are powerful magnets to the reality that we are living. And so if you ever wonder, what are your dominant thoughts or dominant beliefs, or what's your dominant vibration? Just look around you. Okay, open up your bank account, look at who you surround yourself with, look at where you live. That is a reflection of your dominant vibration. Now, like it or not, just remember that if you don't like it, you can always change it. And if you like it, all you got to do is keep doing what you're already doing. I also like to look at manifestation as your consciousness expressed into physical form. That's really how I look at it now. And anytime I want to change something in my reality, I now ask myself, okay, Kathrin, how can you change your consciousness? Now, what is consciousness? It's essentially defined as awareness of yourself and the world around you. I like to look at it as your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings, your emotions, your identities, perspectives, perceptions, and attitudes around yourself, around the world, etc., etc. And this all comes together to create your vibration. So what you're putting out into the world and what you're magnetizing back to you is a result of your consciousness, aka your vibration. And your internal state, your internal state is what creates your external reality. So just summarize in many different ways, because I like to explain it in many different ways as possible, because I know that one of them is going to click for you, right? You might not get the initial definition, but if I say it 5 different ways, all of a sudden you go, oh my God, I think I get it. So how do we attract? So your vibration, aka your consciousness, aka your thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, identities, perspectives, perceptions, are the vibration, and attitudes are the vibration that you put out. Now, there are actually 12 laws of the universe that I like to work with. I call them the 12 laws of manifestation. I'm just going to talk about 2 because they're the most basic. They're the most known in the manifestation law of attraction community, which another law is essentially the law of vibration, which states that everything has a vibration and everything is energy. So everything that you guys are thinking, everything everything that you guys are believing, whatever you speak out to yourself, to others, it is all creating. We are all creators of our very own universe. And I like to take the spiritual approach where I see it as we are co-creators. We have the universe, we have God, we have source, we have Allah, whoever and whatever you believe in, on our side to help us manifest every single one of our desires. However, here's the curse of being a human being, is that we have free will. And that this free will essentially creates this dynamic between us and our higher power, where we are the ones that are in charge of our lives. And until we invite in the divine to help us, the divine just simply cannot help us. And so as much as the divine, however you want to define it, wants us to be successful, wants us to be abundant, wants us to have these thriving businesses, if we don't believe that, if we choose to tune into a frequency that is unsupportive of our dreams and desires, the universe, the divine, as much as it wants to help us, it just simply cannot, because it cannot break the law of free will. And so it really is up to you guys, and it's really, really, really up to you and you alone to decide the kind of life that you want to live. So if you want a successful business, you got to start declaring that. You got to decide that. You got to start tapping into that. You got to start asking yourself, the version of me who already has that successful business, how do they show up in the world? And then your only work to do from that point on is to stay focused on what you want, to really tune into why you want it, but most importantly, start acting like you already have it. And we're going to talk more about that in just a bit. So match the vibration of what you want via your consciousness, and you will attract it into your life. So I talked about the 3 phases of manifestation. This used to be the 3 steps of manifestation, but what I've realized is that sometimes we are floating and free flowing in between the phases. And what I mean by that, I'll share with you in just a second. So the 3 phases is decide, become, and receive. So decide is the first phase. Until you can decide on what you want, there's no way that you can manifest it, right? Until you see it in your mind, see it in your mind's eye, declare it for yourself, the universe cannot help you. Again, if you're being very random and sporadic, then your life is going to become very random and sporadic. If you're constantly focusing on what you don't want, then guess what? You are unconsciously making decisions of attracting what you don't want into your life. So just in the comment section, I know you guys are very busy taking notes, but just bear with me over here. Write down in the comment section, what is something that you want to manifest into your life right now? Okay, it can be anything. It could be a relationship. It could be more better health and energy. It could be more money. It could be a specific amount of money. Just what are you deciding on in your life? I just want to show you kind of like how these 3 phases work in an interactive way. Buy a house, Disney, master's degree, flying in Delta One pod for my 30th in Paris next year. I love how specific that is. Financial freedom, more money from my personal and business brands. Very interesting that there's a couple that say no more debt. Just a quick tip for you guys. When you are focusing on no more debt, your subconscious mind actually doesn't even read the word no. It doesn't understand negatives. It doesn't understand I don't want something. It just completely omits that. And instead, what you end up focusing on is debt. So instead of no more debt, allow yourself, give yourself permission to start focusing on financial freedom instead, and you'll see how that's going to shift very quickly for you. Okay, we got a pretty good list. All right, so the next phase is to become. And what I mean by that, and we'll dive deeper into this because again, I talked about how there's 4 pillars of being. Become is asking yourself the very question. Okay, and write this down because this is a question that I wake up every single day and this is what I ask myself when it comes to manifesting anything. After I've made the decision of what I want to attract and create in my life, I ask myself, who is the version of myself who already has blank? Okay. So blank being whatever it is that you want to manifest. I asked myself specifically, who is the version of Kathrin Zenkina that already has an 8-figure business? That's kind of where I'm at and what I'm manifesting. But at some point, guys, I remember asking myself, who's the version of Kathrin Zenkina who has a 6-figure business, 7-figure business, multi-7-figure, and now 8-figure? And the process is exactly the same. I've gone through the same phases for everything that I've manifested, from my soulmate to travel to specific like small things to opportunities like being featured in Forbes to growing my podcast, growing my social media following, to flying in a Delta Air, Delta One pod. Like I've done it from LA to Atlanta and it was amazing. So I can't wait for you to manifest that. Manifesting other first class trips, like everything that I've manifested, I follow these phases. And the become part is the most important because your identity is the strongest force in the human psyche. When you believe that you are something, you're going to think like them, you're going to believe like them, you're going to act like them. And what I mean by who are you going to become, it's not that you're changing yourself, because a lot of people are like, no, Kathrin, I like who I am. I like being myself. What do you mean? Who am I going to become? No, what we're talking about here is really like on the quantum physics level of, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but really you are just becoming a different version of yourself. And you are essentially accessing this different version of yourself in like this parallel reality where you are already living this reality. You're already living your dreams. And what you're doing is you're just essentially stepping into them, where you then literally get to create and live out your dream life as soon as you step into them. And we'll talk more about what that means, because some people are like, what do you mean step into it? Like, how does that work? And then the third phase is receive. And receive is all about surrendering. It's all about trusting. It's all about letting go of the how and all the details that we get sucked into of like, well, how, Kathrin? How's it going to happen? How am I going to receive this money? How am I going to receive these people? And our mind just goes crazy with all these questions. And we have to remember that it is the what and the why and the becoming process that is most important to our job as the co-creation equation. And it's up to the universe to fill in all of the other details. So in order for us to receive, we have to let go of those details. And then receiving also means literally living your reality. So people always ask me, Kathrin, how do I know when the process is done? How do I know when it's been successful? How do I know when I've changed my beliefs? And I always tell them, well, look around you. Do you have it yet or not? And if you don't have it yet, you're still working through the phases. Now, the reason also why I look at it as phases rather than steps is because sometimes, just depending on the situation or the circumstances or our confidence level in what we're manifesting, sometimes it's as simple as deciding that we're worthy and deciding that we're ready. And next thing you know, it shows up in your life the next week without even doing any work at all. Sometimes you are receiving things that you didn't even know you wanted until you realize that you unconsciously at some point in your life said, ooh, I want that house. And then 20 years later, you're like, oh my God, I'm living in the house that I remember pointing to 20 years ago. Like, holy crap, this is incredible. Sometimes you're going to be playing around and the becoming. You're really going to be growing and evolving into the version of yourself that already has everything that he or she wants. So that's why I say phases, but really this is what it all boils down to. As long as you have these 3 words in your head, you have a blueprint of where you are and where you want to go and how to fill in the gaps. Where the deciding starts the where you currently are and what you want to change, and the receive is the end result of you actually living your reality. So just a couple extra notes. So decide is the conscious decision-making of whatever you want to experience, your focus and attention. And guys, you always get what you focus on, and what you focus on expands. And this is really part of the deciding. So sometimes you're going to be maybe for a couple hours, maybe for a couple days, really getting crystal clear on what it is that you want, and really honing in on focusing on what you want. And then you work on the process of becoming, and then you work on the process of receiving. Sorry, hold on. I can't even see my own slide. One sec. Stepping into the vibration of what you want to experience, being the version that's already living what you've decided. And then receive is surrendering the details and taking inspired action as it comes, then living out your desired reality. Okay, let me go back. And then another thing, another way of looking at this is very interesting. I had a mentor, and he still is my mentor, but I worked with him one-on-one about like 6 months ago. His name is Jim Fortin. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He teaches a model called the Be, Do, Have model. And this is such a simplistic way. And by simplistic, I don't mean like a negative simplistic. I mean a very positive simplistic, because sometimes, you know, guys, life is actually like manifesting is simple, but it's not always easy, right? Because we have our egos, we have our limiting beliefs, we have things that get in the way. Sometimes we value other people's opinions more than our own, and all this stuff just gets in the way. And the mindset work really is just removing those obstacles and removing those barriers. But the process itself, as I'm describing it, you're like, oh yeah, that's simple. It's very, very simple. So I love this, these 3 phases, which is be, do, and have. And why I love this is because essentially what this model says is that once you become, first you be, then you will do, and then you will have. And an example, a very simplistic example that I have for you guys is, if you want to have 6 figures, a 6-figure business, first you must become the version of yourself who already has 6 figures. So you have to show up in your business, show up in the world, talk to yourself, talk to people as if you already have 6 figures, and really ask yourself, okay, the version of myself who has 6 figures, how else are they showing up? Who are they surrounding themselves with? What kind of books are they reading? Who are they talking to? Who are they not talking to? Who are they taking advice from? Who are they not taking advice from? Are they showing up on the team calls every week, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And from that being, then, you know, following identity, you are then taking physical action as if you already are that 6-figure business owner. And then once you be, then you do. The remainder is to have, which then you will have the 6-figure business. Now, most people have this backwards, where people think that first they must have the 6-figure business, and then they will act like a 6-figure business owner. And then they will consider themselves to be 6-figure business owners. But it's so, so backwards. And an example that another one of my mentors gave me a long time ago was talking about this like vicious cycle of refusing to call in the identity that you must become in order for you to manifest what you desire. And what he described to me was like authors. So many people are afraid of calling themselves authors until they write the book. But until they write the book, they can't become authors. And until they become authors, they can't write the book. And so they find themselves in this cycle of never, ever, ever truly living out their dreams or truly taking action on their dreams because they are so afraid of really stepping into that identity. Successful people, they first be, then they do, and then they have. And anytime I get stuck in my life, I just come back to these models and I'm like, okay, Kathrin, like you are stuck right now. Something feels off. Like, let's go back to the basics and let's figure out what is off. Are you tapping into the feelings of the version of yourself that's already successful? Like the version of yourself that's already successful, is she worried? Is she stressed out? Is she upset? Is she, feeling sad? Is she feeling frustrated? No, it's okay to have those feelings come up because sometimes it's part of the healing process. You don't ever want to numb your feelings. You want to really feel them in order to heal them and let them go. But at some point, you got to move on and you got to start tapping into the feelings of abundance and joy and inspiration and creativity in order for you to really hone in on that version of yourself. And that's why it's so key, you guys, to stay connected. Okay, not only with each other, but also with resources like this, with team calls, with going to events. And I know obviously going to events right now is impossible because everything's canceled, but like maybe tap into a virtual event or read a book, or there's so many ways for you to stay connected so that you keep coming from this mindset. So the 4 pillars of being, how I like to look at this is you have being on the emotional level, being on the mental level, being on the spiritual level, and being on the physical level. Now, emotionally, it's how you choose to feel on an everyday basis. And the thing that trips people up the most when it comes to manifesting their desires is worrying. And what I mean by that is that so many people, when they decide what they want, they then start worrying about it not happening. And they just find themselves constantly worrying about, what if it doesn't happen? What if something goes wrong? Blah, 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 blah. Like all of these what ifs. And you have to remind yourself that the version of you that's already successful, are they worried about not being successful? No, right? So if you're feeling worried, then you're already messing this thing up, and you really got to shift that energy. You got to shift the vibration, and you got to ask yourself, the version of me that's already successful, how are they feeling every single day? On a mental level, it's your thoughts and your beliefs. And what a belief is essentially a thought that you keep thinking over and over and over and over again, that's tied with emotion until it becomes a belief. And a belief is essentially a subconscious program. Once it becomes a subconscious program, it then manifests perpetually everywhere in your life. And your subconscious programs are very hard to really hard to find unless you are working with like a hypnotherapist, or you're working with a coach or someone to help you really see your blind spots. However, a great check to see if you're on the right track or not is to just look at your reality, right? Your reality is always a reflection of your beliefs. And that's personally for me, the way that I check myself when I don't have access to a hypnotherapist, or when I don't have a coaching call, or I'm not currently working with anyone. I have these self-checks where I ask myself, okay, am I where I am, where I want to be financially? And if not, what are the beliefs that are holding me back right now? Do I truly believe that I am capable, that I'm worthy, that I'm deserving? All of these beliefs that I know I need to believe about myself and my finances in order to manifest that. So, and thoughts are really easy to change, you guys. And I don't want you guys to ever think that you have to really pay attention to every single thought that you have, because that's damn near impossible. We have 60,000 thoughts every single day, and about 95% of them are the same thoughts that you had yesterday. To think that you need to sit there and monitor every single thought in your head is just crazy talk. It's damn near impossible. And so how I like to look at it is, first and foremost, do your best to become aware of what's coming through your head, but also pay attention to your dominant thoughts. And whatever your dominant thoughts are, if you ever catch yourself having negative thoughts about something, what I like to do is I like to just say cancel, and then flip it to the opposite. Flip it to whatever it is that I do want to think. Flip it to whatever it is that I do want to focus on. Because doing that enough times, you're actually rewiring the neurons in your brain to stop connecting this thought and instead start connecting that new thought. And if you yell cancel enough times and then flip it, at some point you don't even have to cancel anything, because you just automatically start thinking that new thought. And with enough emotion, I like to really integrate affirmations. Affirmation work is so, so crucial. I never understand why some people say that affirmations are BS and they don't work, because they obviously don't know how the subconscious mind works. Because if you repeat something enough times to yourself with enough emotion every single day, at some point you're going to believe it. And at some point it becomes a brand new installed program in your subconscious mind. So doing that with enough repetition and thinking the thoughts of the version of yourself that's already successful and has everything that you want, that's your mental being. Spiritual being, the way I look at it, is your connection to the divine. And it's the connection to the divine of your own understanding. I know we all come from different backgrounds. I know we could have come from different religions, different spiritual views. It doesn't matter. As long as you believe in some sort of connection to the divine, you will activate this co-creation process. And then physically, and this is where most manifestation teachers go wrong, is they don't teach this part. The part is physical action is important, because we are human beings here living on the physical plane. And we can take all these levels of action, like when we're visualizing or doing our affirmations or meditating. That is great. And that is so essential, because obviously you're filling in the other pillars. However, in order to grab something from the energetic realm and bring it here into the physical realm where you can actually taste it and touch it and smell it and feel it, you got to take physical action. And physical action can look, in many different ways. It could be you actually opening up your phone and making a post, right? It could be answering the door when, a metaphorical door, when there's an opportunity knocking. It could be writing an email. It could be picking up the phone and calling someone. It could be agreeing to step on stage and deliver a talk. It could be writing a book. It could be so many different things depending on what your goals are, right? If you want to buy the dream car, if you want to manifest the dream car, at some point you got to make your way to the dealership and go test drive it and go check it out and really act as if you are in the position to already buy this car. Whether or not you have the money yet, it doesn't matter, because your mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So as long as you're imagining this experience and you're really going out and physically living it to the best of your ability, you're going to manifest it 10 times faster. And I would say physical action is one of the hardest actions as well, because well, it can be scary sometimes, right? Sometimes we got to step outside of our comfort zone. And quite honestly, all of the things that are your deepest desires and the things that you really want to live out are the things that are going to make you most uncomfortable in order to get there. It's because your ego doesn't want you to step out of your comfort zone. However, your soul is literally like pulling you out of your comfort zone. Like, come on, let's go. We got this. And that feeling between, when you step outside your comfort zone and you're waiting for this new zone to kind of build around you, where the new thing becomes familiar, could be a process of a couple of days, of a couple of weeks. It could take a couple of months. And what most people do that retracts them from having what they want is when they get uncomfortable from that unfamiliarity, they just step back into their comfort zone and they basically shut down the manifestation process. So don't ever look at discomfort or fear as a sign that you're doing something wrong. It is always a sign that your ego is trying to pull you back into your comfort zone. And I use fear and discomfort to serve me. In fact, I have affirmations like, I am comfortable being uncomfortable. That's an affirmation that I started using since the day when I made my biggest financial investment in my personal development, where I felt the craziest. I was like, God, angels, universe, give me a sign. That's when I started first seeing my first 1111. I started seeing angel numbers, and all these beautiful synchronicities unfolded from there because I was willing to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's a powerful affirmation, you guys. If you, as you're going out there and spreading your message and inspiring people, and especially in the state of the world right now, it's very uncomfortable. It's very unfamiliar. It's very scary. But if you can keep affirming to yourself, you know what? I was fucking born for this. I am comfortable being uncomfortable, and I'm going to be the light for people. You will really, really, really take advantage of all of the hidden opportunities that are actually inside of this crisis right now. I know it's so hard for so many of us to see it, but there really are opportunities if you decide to look for them. And you're going to bring so much hope and so much light for other people. Your intuition is your greatest asset. It is your direct channel to the divine. When you start this process, the 3 phases, you will have your intuition come knocking at your door, and you're going to have to pay close attention to the nudges, to the whispers, the downloads, inspiration, and whatever's calling you. I look at the divine or source or God or universe as my best business partner. And I strongly believe the reason how I got here and why I got here was because I refused to pay attention to what everyone else is doing. And I decided to connect to my own intuition and really download and channel what is right for me and what's going to make the biggest impact in my life. We all have unique energetic signatures. We all have unique energetic imprints. And what's going to work for one person is not necessarily going to work for you. Because remember, someone else's strategy is according to their unique energetic imprint and their unique energetic soul signature. And what works for you has to come first from within. And that's not to say like don't get awesome ideas from other people and don't get inspiration from other people, because obviously entrepreneurship works best when we all work together as a community, because it can be so isolating. And I know for me, for a fact, like the group of friends that Stephanie was talking about at the beginning of this call, like I really rely on these sisters to help me stay sane and really bounce off ideas and really talk to them and brainstorm with them of like what's going on and what I need help with, et cetera, et cetera. We're really, really supporting each other at all times. Whenever someone needs help, we're there for them. However, above all, the divine source, God, universe, angels, higher self, whatever you want to call it, higher power is your best business partner. And it always has your back. It's always watching out for you, and it's going to give you the best ideas. And these downloads are not going to come very loud and clear. You have to train yourself to start listening. If you ever feel pulled or called to talk about something, or to reach out to someone, or to say something, or whatever it is that you're doing in your business or experiencing in your business, follow that call, okay? That is always leading you to whatever it is that you want to manifest. I believe it says be a great receiver. Yes, it does. Okay. So being a great receiver, as I talked about, how like if you can't receive, then obviously you're not going to receive what you want. Like you could be giving all day long, but if you don't receive, then you're not going to get what you want. Creating and holding space for the divine really comes down to going through the phases, doing your part, but then letting go and surrendering and allowing the universe, the divine, to fill in all of the details of how it's going to happen. You could set an intention of 6 figures in your business. You can then be the version of yourself who makes 6 figures in her business, but then you got to surrender, and you can't attach yourself to exactly how the money is going to come in, exactly how the people are going to flock to you, exactly what that post or that webinar or whatever it is that you do that's going to attract the people into your business. You have to stay open. You got to create and hold space for the divine, surrendering the details and focusing on your job. What is your job? It's the what and the why. And the divine's job is the where, the how, the when, and the who. And unfortunately, I wish we could, set timelines and set dates for our goals. I know there's a school of thought that's all about, I want X amount of dollars by X date. I find that if you are the type of person that doesn't like that feels a lot of pressure around manifestation, like for instance, for me, when I set a date around my manifestations, I will then be the type of person who, like, let's say I set May 1st, 2020 as the date for this goal. I'll be looking at my calendar on April 15th and freak out, because especially if I'm not close to that goal, I'll be like, oh my God, it's not working. It's not going to work. And even though we have 15 whole days left, we just do this thing where we self-sabotage ourselves, where we tend to give up because we forget that time is just an illusion, and it's not up to our timing. It's up to God's timing, right? It's up to the universe's timing. And what I found from many, many years of experience is that the universe truly works in the 11th hour. And so much magic comes at like April, I don't know how many days in the month there are, 31st to 30th, at 11:59 p.m., right before midnight. So much magic could unfold if you're still holding space. And how I like to hold space is I surrender the details of how it's going to happen, the when, the who, and the where. All I focus on is myself living that life, living that desire, living that intention, and staying focused as to why I want it, and making sure that it's always coming from the heart. Because if it's coming from ego, you might be able to manifest it, but it's going to be short-lived, okay? But if it's coming from the heart, this is something that is going to be long-lived and also very, very fulfilling for you. So some final thoughts. And this is so key also to this situation that's going on in the world right now. The most important currencies in manifesting your dream life and your dream business is your belief and your faith. Believe that you can, that you are worthy, and that you deserve to live the best life. And have faith that your success is inevitable and that you're always on the right path. And to this day, I've had the same like core affirmation that's become my core belief that you guys are more than welcome to borrow, more than welcome to have and share with others, which is my success is inevitable and I am always on the right path. And I've been repeating this to myself every single day, knowing that even in the midst of chaos, even in the midst of things not making sense, seeming like it's not working, I know that I will have the last laugh. My success is inevitable, and I will be living that desire. I'll be living that dream no matter what. It doesn't matter if it looks like it's not going to happen. I don't care what anybody says. I don't even care what my ego says. I don't even care I'm not even listening to my own crazy thoughts. I know that my success is inevitable, and I know through my connection with the divine, I am always on the right path. And if I ever veer off the right path, I will be placed back on it without even having to do anything. Because you guys know how life sometimes works out, where you think you're going somewhere and then something crazy happens and you're like really bummed about it first, but then you realize that it was God always protecting you, or is the universe always protecting you to put you back on the right path, and that right path for you. So my success is inevitable, and I'm always on the right path. And I believe the other affirmation I gave you guys is I'm comfortable being uncomfortable. And another affirmation I gave you guys, I don't remember. But anyway, these are like what I'm sharing with you guys are affirmations that can completely change your life if you're willing to just surrender all of the disbelief and have faith that the power of manifestation is 100% real, it's 100% true, and it's always working for you. And how I went on that 1-year experiment, I am inviting you guys to do that experiment for yourself as well. And it doesn't have to be a year. It could be even a week. It could be a month. It could be 6 months. But really for the next like week or a couple weeks or a couple months or a year or whatever, to really proceed through your life and your business as if your success is inevitable, as if the law of attraction is absolutely real, and everything you set your intention on and everything you take inspired physical action on will absolutely manifest. And then my invitation for you guys. So I'm hosting a free faith challenge on my Instagram. So it's going to be on Instagram Live. And if you guys like are busy or doing something else at this time, I'm going to be posting the recordings on my IGTV as well as my podcast. And this is just a challenge that I felt called to do as a way to give to the world right now to really help all the light workers and all the healers and all the inspirational people out there to really come together and raise the vibration of this planet. And I'm a big believer that energy is everything, and that we are able to overcome anything and everything as long as we believe that we have that power. So I'm hosting that challenge. And for any of you who are feeling anxiety and are feeling panic and are going to the grocery store and seeing that there's no more toilet paper, no more anything, and you're freaking out, this is a great place to come. And what we're going to be doing is stuff like my favorite practices to release negative energy and really disconnect from that negative energy, like EFT, emotional freedom technique, if you guys are familiar, meditation, prayer, as well as some journaling prompts to really help you overcome this very interesting time that we're going through in the world. So I'd love to have you guys. I just want to throw that in. It wasn't part of my plan, but today I decided on it, and I was just like, let me just invite whoever I can. And that's it, you guys. Do you have any questions? I've been paying attention to hold on, let me move you guys to the chat. Let me see if I missed anything. Oh, thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for, taking in this content, taking in this information, and especially deciding to do something with it. You guys are so, so powerful, and you can be, do, and have anything that you want. And as long as you're willing to believe that, just let the universe surprise you with what is possible. Oh, yay. My soul needed this.
One thing I want to add, Kathrin, this was fantastic. One thing I want to add, just in terms of in terms of what you're sharing, and just for everyone, that as you guys are going through that becoming process, as you guys are stepping into that uncomfortable feeling, I want to invite you guys to feel your feelings. I want to invite you guys that if things come up where all of a sudden you feel like crying, and you're like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. This is so, cry. Allow that energy to move through you, because as you go through this manifestation process, you're healing yourself. And as you heal yourself, these emotions are going to come up, and you're going to feel it in your gut. You're going to feel it like you want to vomit. Like you're going to feel like I want to just cry. And it's because This is literally part of the releasing process. It's part of the healing process of the old identity, of the older version of yourself, or maybe some emotional baggage that you may have. So I just want to encourage you guys, because I think as a society, we've repressed so many of our emotions, and that crying and being angry or screaming sometimes is looked at as not the right thing to do, when honestly, we've done ourselves such a huge disservice. So I just want to put it out there that it's perfectly okay. It's normal. It's healthy to really be moving through these emotions. And I expect them, you know, even within myself. And so I just want to let you guys know that, because as they come up, if you're all of a sudden like, what the fuck, I want to cry, like, go cry in the shower, you know, like, go let it out, because you're going to feel so much better after. Or if you need to like literally scream, or literally like, trust me, you know, trust us in saying it's really, really important to be moving through those emotions.
I love that you mentioned that, because a big misconception in, you know, this manifestation world is, oh, you got to be high vibe all the time. And the mistake that people make is that they end up suppressing a lot of their emotion, because they think, oh, they go into a shame spiral around how they're feeling. They're like, I'm not supposed to cry. Crying is not high vibe, or feeling sad is not high vibe. Like, I got to be high vibe in order to manifest my most high vibe life. And what they don't realize is that they're actually pulling in and leaving all of those negative energies in their auric field. And by crying and by feeling emotions, as Stephanie mentioned, you're actually releasing so that you can come back to the core essence of who you are, which is a high vibrational being. And so through release is actually how you become high vibe. And I learned this the hard way, where through a panic attack that I remember having in late 2015, where I have essentially spent an entire lifetime of suppressing emotion, because I was never really allowed to feel emotion in front of my mom, especially. And it was just like, it wasn't something that was celebrated, feeling your feelings. And so in the midst of this panic attack that I was having, my intuition told me to write down everything in my journal that was bothering me. And I used to refuse to do that, because the school of thought is, oh no, like, you can never put a negative, right? We put labels on everything and create stories around these labels. You can never put a negative emotion out there, a negative thought. And so afraid to write these things down or talk to someone about them, or just, you know, just really process and feel them. And I remember driving to this like island right next to where I was living at the time. And I was sitting on a dock, and I just like wrote everything down. And within like 15, 20 minutes, I felt 10,000 times better. And then ever since then, of just me, I call it my let it out journaling. And Stephanie witnessed me doing this like about a week ago, where I was just like letting everything out. So many emotions. I cried on your shoulder, Stephanie. Like, it was just like a mess, but it was a beautiful mess. And just like through doing that, you are able to come back to the core essence of who you truly are, which is such a beautiful human being. And if you deny that human spirit within you, then it's like, the question I have is like, well, then why did we come here to be a human being if we're not allowed to be a human being? So I love that you said that, Stephanie, and thank you so much for adding that.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Kathrin, real quick, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, can you just speak to a little bit about, like, in the beginning when you were kind of just starting, and how you really had to train your mindset, and how everyone else wasn't on this mindset path with you, and how you've really been an inspiration, not only, you know, for yourself, but really to your husband, to your family. Like, you really were that leader in the beginning. And I know it can be hard, especially for those on the call, and just when you are a little bit ahead, or you're really trying to reprogram your mind, and yet everyone around you knows you as the old version of you, or is more negative, and just how much, you know, because I just remember, guys, like, Kathrin was that person. Like, I always say she was like the best personal development student, because the year before Manifestation Babe started, she literally was listening to like personal development like 24/7. Like, from when she woke up to when she was going to bed, she was brushing her teeth, listening to, you know, YouTube channels, listening to podcasts, really, inundating her mind, doing, repeated manifestations, writing out, saying things hundreds of times throughout the day, her affirmations. So it's not like, so, literally the practice, and this was before, Manifestation Babe really kind of came to be. But she's really worked on her mindset. And this was when she was in a really, in what someone would say would be a negative environment, so can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. Stephanie's not kidding. I used to do like 8 hours of listening to personal development a day. And just to give some context, like how I found the time for that, because I was a full-time student and I was growing my Beachbody business. And actually I had a very long commute at the time from my home to my school. Is about an hour and a half, depending on traffic, sometimes 2 hours to school. And then all that time back. And then as soon as I wake up in the morning, in the evening before bed, and then the weekends, it was like a time for me to study and then do the real studying, which is the mindset work. And for me, I think what really clicked for me, Stephanie, it's such a great question, because just to give you guys some more context, like my parents were very unsupportive of my online business. They wanted me to become a doctor. And I remember like Stephanie as a doctor being like, Kathrin, that's not your calling. Like you need to be in this world. Like this is clearly what makes you happy. And so in the beginning of this call, when I said like Stephanie and Luke were my only two fans. Like they were the most supportive people. I have shed so many tears in front of them. And my parents gave me such a hard time. Of course, it was very hard living with them. And then of course, like their mindsets are not in the right place. And so for me to be that leader, it was very, very hard. However, this is what really helped me, which I don't remember who said it. I don't remember if it was like a compilation of people, but there was something that shifted in me when I heard, work harder on your mindset than anything else, and everything in your life will fall into place. And so I remember looking at all the things that I worked so hard for in my life. Like for instance, I worked really hard in school. Okay, I got good grades. Awesome. So I saw like the correlation between that. And I was like, what if I worked really hard on reprogramming my mind and really tuning in and tapping into all these successful people and listening to what they have to say? At some point, you got to realize, guys, that you got to really assess, like, who are you taking advice from? At some point, I had to realize that my parents, though they're great people, incredible souls, they're not living their dream lives, okay? They're not, like, if you ask my mom what her dream life is, hers is to be a successful doctor. Is my mom a successful doctor? No, right? So at the time, she was a nurse. My stepdad, if you ask what his dream is, was he living it? No. And so I had to, like, really take assessment of everyone around me and being like, okay, who am I taking advice from? Remembering that whoever I'm taking advice from, if I take their advice, I'm going to live that reality. Okay. Because that's the vibration that I'm taking in. That's the consciousness that I am going to take on and develop as my own consciousness. And then my external reality is going to look just like theirs. Are they happy? Are they fulfilled? Are they successful? I started processing everyone around me through that filter. And then, the authors I was listening to, or the people on YouTube, or the podcast interviews, I'm like, okay, these are the people that I want to jam out with. Like, these are the people who get it. They're living their best life. I got to listen to them. And so I made sure every single day to stay tuned in and connected, and paid more attention to them than the other people around me who weren't, happy, joyful, successful, whatever. And it was just like a discipline, you guys. It really was a discipline. And it really was reminding me that, who at the end of their life is going to be living with the consequences of all the decisions that they made in their life. Not your family, not your friends, not your husband, nobody, not your wife, nobody except for yourself. At the end of this entire life, you're going to be on your deathbed, or you're going to be on a rocking chair looking back at your life, and you're going to be the one feeling the pain of not living the life of your dreams. And when I think about that, guys, I don't know about you, but that really just gets me fired up, where I'm like, oh shit, like I don't want to experience that regret at the end of my life. Like I gotta be doing whatever I need to do that's for my highest good and for what's my best interest. And remember that your ripple effect will be felt by your friends, your family, your community, everyone around you. Like you have to be the leader, especially for people who are not doing a great job leading their lives, let alone trying to lead your life. you might as well flip it and be the leader. And I had so many people who laughed at me. I had so many people who were like, Kathrin, this is stupid. I remember sitting on a blow up mattress because my entire family basically took up every single room in my house. It was New Year's Eve. It was a very full house. We had family staying over. I was on a blow up mattress in the middle of my living room. So that's where I was like on my laptop doing my Beachbody stuff. And I remember my family, I had headphones in, but I wasn't listening to anything. And my family was standing in the kitchen and I am just listening to them talk. And all of a sudden I hear my name being brought up. And so of course, when you hear your name being brought up, you're like, what are they saying about me? So I'm like pretending to work. And all I hear from them is talking about how I'm never going to make it, how I'm so stupid for letting go of medical school, how I'm involved in the pyramid scheme, like all of these things. And I remember just being gutted and being like, you know what? Like, I can't be listening to these people. Unfortunately, like as long as my household goes, I am the only one who I'm the only one who can show up for myself. Like I don't have these people's support, but at the end of my life, who's going to feel the regret? Who's going to feel the pain? It's just going to be me. So I just got to stay tapped in. I got to stay tuned in. And I did as much personal development as possible. I don't do as much today, like physically sitting there and listening, but I, to this day, have not missed a single day of not listening to some sort of mind food. And I call it mind food because it's really nourishment for your mind. You know, we eat, we have nourishment for our bodies, we have nourishment for our souls. For some of us, that's church. For some of us, that's meditation. For some of us, that's prayer, right? We nourish our souls. Then we also got to nourish our minds. And how we nourish our minds is by releasing what no longer serves us and taking in really good, positive, inspirational quality content and making that a discipline. And to this day, every single morning when I wake up, I am listening to something or I'm reading something and I have not missed a day. And it's the reason why I'm here and have been able to build essentially what I call a mindset of steel.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. This is awesome. You guys are such a great group.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on and taking your time this evening. And guys, I'll be sharing the recording. What? Oh, and the
Love
slide.
you, Mama.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, girl. Well, thank you so much. I know the girls, I'm already getting messages that this is just an amazing call. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I'll send you the slides right now, Stephanie, too.
Okay.
So you can have them.
Sounds good. All right. All right,
Thank
guys. Bye.
Bye.